to see Loki Season 2, Episodes 1 and 4 early, and this is going to be my non-spoiler review for the first 4 episodes. I'm going to stay as vague as I possibly can when talking about this show, whether new characters start to come in, whether new actors, all sorts of things that, maybe even things that I didn't know from just knowledge of watching the trailer. We're going to be as vague as possible because you definitely don't want to be spoiled. But what I will say is that I will have spoiler reviews the second each episode drops, and that even continues with episode 5 and 6 since I didn't get to go see those ones yet. And I can kind of see why they gave us the first 4. I was actually kind of shocked by that because usually with Marvel shows, they typically only give us the first 2 episodes. There's been some instances where they're like, hey, here's the first 4, like Moon Knight and things like that. And where episode 4 ended at made me go, yeah, I see why they didn't give me 5 and 6, because 4 ends in like a mind-blowing way, which is just going to excite a lot of you guys. But if you are new here, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, because we're definitely going to be talking Marvel, Star Wars, all sorts of things like that over on this channel, even some of the more independent, smaller films coming out later this year, as well as leave your thoughts. Are you fans of the first Loki season? Were you not? Are you hoping season 2 wins you over? Because for me, as a point of context, Loki Season 1, I thought was near perfect. And for me personally, I think it's one of the strongest things that Marvel has ever done. And when it comes down to the TV side, besides Werewolf by Night, I think this is the most cohesive and streamlined best show that they've done. I know WandaVision was spectacular. I really, really enjoyed Moon Knight. But something about Loki Season 1 really just captured me and took my heart by storm by the characters, the parallels, the ideas, the timeline, everything of that nature, and the way that it really decides to focus on ideas and more than just action. It focuses on going through different multiverses, playing around with this mysterious ideas and what is possibly going on. And what Season 2 is it's very different. Yes, it has some of those same ideas. Yes, it has the parallels, very much so. And yes, it has all the same characters that you love and even some new ones. But it is more of a workplace drama, mostly focusing in on the TVA and the result of what happened with Sylvie and Loki at the finale of Season 1. How does that affect everything going forward? Doesn't look at the entire MCU, not as of yet of what I've seen. It's very much more tightened into the TVA and keeping it structured, and how do you move forward as an organization without your leader, and finding out all the revelations that they did, that again, that they're all variants that were taken from their own timelines, and that they have a story out there to be told. I find that to be the strongest aspect of Loki Season 2. Are those ideas and those clever nuances of what works. But what I will say, and I kind of want to get my issues out of the way, is that I found the first 2 episodes to be probably the weakest of the entire show, including Season 1 and, of course, with Season 2. It almost made me to the point go, I don't get what they're doing here. The first episode very much opens up and has a lot of fun and unique ideas, but as it's playing out, it kind of just lost me. It felt very exposition heavy and continued to kind of just be an epilogue of Season 1, which is okay to do, but it felt like setup. And then episode 2 kicks in, and it's the same way. I was very just kind of confused and taken back, like, why are we doing the story like this? Like, this isn't the direction that I assumed. And maybe after I see the entire season, I can look back, go back and watch episodes 1 and 2 and be like, okay, it makes more sense. But there's just a lot of things that they try to introduce and even solve, like the whole time-splitting thing that you saw in the trailer that kind of reminds you of Spider-Verse. I expected a lot more out of that idea, and they barely touched on it. Maybe they'll touch on it more in the back half, but like when you see what happens with it, I was kind of just, again, expecting more. But with that said, as I found some of the storylines in the first 2 episodes to be a bit jarring, episodes 3 and 4 is where it really started to take by storm, kind of put in the pieces of what was going on within episodes 1 and 2, and show the overall issue and explain it a bit more. Have the stakes rise a bit more. Have the characters really come into their own. Have some fun action sequences. But again, looking at the entire thing of the multiverse itself. And that's when I really started to come into this. because as much as I love Loki, and I've really thought that the first season did such a great job giving parallels to Sylvie and showing all the different ideas, but when you see what they're doing with like Renslayer, for instance, I love the different ideas, and I felt like in season 1, if you were to give it a con, I felt like she deserved a little bit more to do, and in this one, there's a lot of revelations you find out. Minutes actually feels more like a character for once, and alongside that, even B15, I actually really love what they're doing with her character and how, in a way, she's having to kind of take over the leadership of the TVA. But there are some new faces that you knew you're going to see, such as Kiha Kwan's Obi. I think Obi is actually one of the best parts about the series. Is he an in-depth character? No, I have some theories with this character, though, and specifically certain things that they're doing with him. But he is such a great comedic relief and a nice relief to everything, because when you look at Loki season 2, it feels more like a sci-fi workplace drama than anything of itself, since it takes so much primarily with the TVA and what they're trying to stop. And I keep going back to episode 4's ending, and my jaw literally hit the floor at one thing that happens right towards the end, and the way that the episode ends, there leads to so many possibilities, so many different ideas and things that they could possibly do now. And it leads me back to why I loved season 1 so much, is because they always left that with you. You never knew what direction they were going to go. Where in the first 2 episodes, I kind of knew where they could probably be planting themselves. And then episode 3 kind of goes back to what I really loved about Loki. And it felt like kind of we're getting back to what's so important about this show. And I love what they're doing with the characters this season. And of course, other than Obi, you know Victor Timely is going to be in here. We're not going to get into the whole Jonathan Majors situation, what's going to be going on with that, because we don't even know. I'm not versed in it. I'm not 100% in the know. All I know is that Kang as a character is very much one of my favorites from the comics. And Victor Timely is a very interesting character as well. Love what they're doing with him in this season specifically as well. And I think that just kind of goes, is that every character is getting a little bit more depth than just Loki and Sylvie per se. I wish Mobius had a little bit more to do, but Owen Wilson is spectacular with just his banter and his chemistry. And like Tom Hiddleston and him just like have the best rapport with one another, and I can't get enough of that. Alongside, I will also give a shout out the cinematography, the camera angles, all the different moments that they're kind of shifting around. It's easily even stronger than season 1, and I think that's because Benson and Moorhead are executive producers for most of the season, and if you've ever seen anything they've ever made, it's weird, it's wacky, and it kind of plays alongside that. And I actually kind of wish that they were more heavily involved with like the first season and kind of like the conceptual nature of Loki, because I feel like they had to play catch up to kind of get down to the idea that probably Kevin Feige and the Marvel Universe wanted them to do. But now they're able to play around in their own sphere, and I think episodes 5 and 6 are going to be able to take us into those new directions. Because I guess if you look at the first season of Loki, while they played around with the different multiverses and the timelines, it very much is a character piece to Loki, and of course enjoying Sylvie and everything else. But once you get to episodes 4, 5, and 6, that is when all the shit started hitting the fan and made you look back at the entire series of Loki in that first season and go, okay, all of this made sense. All this buildup brought it up. And I think that's how I'm going to feel on season 2. And I was expecting more of that just straight from the start. But it's like kind of a reset and it moves forward. I hope that makes sense. I know I'm rambling a lot and it's really hard to talk about without getting into spoilers. So definitely look out for the spoiler reviews. But Loki season 2, I think, starts out as a disappointment, but ends up finding its footing by episode 3 and really takes storm within episode 4, which I loved. And I think overall, I'm a little bit mixed on the series, and I'm hoping episodes 5 and 6 can make me turn that around and be like, whew, yeah, I loved this show once again. It's just all going to really depend on how they end this season. And with that said, I'm impressed. I like this show. Once again, it's still not as good as season 1, but that's going to be different for each and every one of you guys to decide. So make sure to leave your thoughts down below, hit that like and subscribe button, and thank you so much for clicking on this. So I'm positive, but I could easily fall into the negatives, and we've seen that happen with a lot of MCU shows. I mean, look at Secret Invasion. Goddamn, that show burned me. I loved it, and it just fell apart. So I don't know, I could be wrong, but thank you so much again for watching this, and of course, until next time, stay classy. One more thing I forgot to mention, I have to also say this, shout out to Marvel for really letting them go forward. Like, every episode is about 44 to 59 minutes. Like, it's almost an hour long. This is exactly what I want from Disney+.